Tucker?
Yeah.
You got it under control?
Yeah.
I'm glad. What's up, guys? Good evening. Tonight's project is a little bit different. It ties into the series we've been working on. That's the pond project. Well, since we built the pond and flooded it, we've also added 6 mallard ducks out there to the pond that I was fostering for a friend of mine. We got them from a backyard barn sale kind of thing, and they needed a home. So we are releasing them on a dad's pond. Well, as a part of that, they needed a safe place to live. And to do that, we're gonna build a floating PVC island. We're gonna paint it up to look pretty, and we're gonna plant it with a bunch of plants in it. But what I wanted to show you guys is how we're gonna build this floating island. It's gonna be very stout, and we're gonna paint it to match kind of a brown look so it doesn't look too tacky out there. To do this, I'm actually blending a couple different ideas I found on the interwebs, where we use PVC as the base to be the floating support. And instead of using a rubberized or foam mat, I'm actually using a PVC lattice that I already had, trying to reuse some stuff I have laying around the house. We're gonna do it on the cheap, DIY style, PVC. Let's get to it. Phase 1 complete. We dry fitted the corners. We are not glued yet because there's something else I want to do first. I'm going to put some plastic bottles in here to help with flotation, and then we'll go ahead and start gluing our pipe back together and zip tie our lattice on there. One of the videos I was watching suggested putting plastic bottles inside the pipe in the event the joints became compromised or the PVC broke and started to leak. I'm gonna slide them in these horizontal runs of pipe here to add some extra flotation. We'll put, that'll be 4 on each side, and then 2 on the end pieces. Put 4 in the other side. We've got everything glued. I'm gonna let that set up for a little bit, and then I'm gonna start zip tying my lattice. First thing I'm gonna do is use some extra long zip ties and zip tie the 4 corners to keep it square. Then I'll come back along the edge here. Zip ties engaged. Got 1 on each of the corners and 3 down each side. So that lattice is not moving anywhere. Double-sided lattice is installed. So the next step to do is we're going to cut off these extra zip tie legs here. I'm going to paint it up tomorrow when it gets warmer. Boom! Out here the next day, we got it all painted up. I barely hit the lattice just to darken it up a little bit. I didn't paint it fully, but the PVC frame has been painted with a brown spray paint. And the goal of this is not to make it look so tacky. You certainly don't have to paint it, but I just didn't want white plastic floating around the pond. So that is simply for aesthetics. It is not for functionality. So now we're on to the next phase here, and that's going to be putting the pots in and planting. So I went out to Lowe's looking for some 3-inch pots, and they did not have any. But in the clearance rack, they did have all these, what are these, pansies? Yeah, they had pansies. And what I'm going to do is actually come in here and cut these and make my own individual pots. And these squares should be perfect to fit into the squares of the lattice. My plan is to drop each square into one of these square holes and scatter them throughout and fill out the area nicely. Now the pansies will be just for this winter as a placeholder until next spring when we plant the aquatics in here. Okay, so we got the first one cut. And like I said, I'm trying to make just a small pot here, and we're gonna see if this drops in and fits in like I need it to. Absolutely perfect. The wings on that little guy catch the lattice here, so that's gonna fit perfect. I just saved myself some money buying a bunch of pots as well as soil. So this should be perfect. have to just ignore the ugly yellow for now, because as these plants in the spring flush out, the yellow is going to go away, and I may even trim some of the yellow off. So just ignore the tackiness of the yellow and think more so long term after aquatic plants are going to flush out. But we got all the pots that I had in place, but I couldn't be happier. I think we're good to go here. We'll drop this thing in, make sure it floats, and probably adjust the pots a little bit, but we should be in business to have some aquatic plants come springtime. All right, we have arrived at the farm. The ducks are still in good condition, it would appear. You've been taking care of my ducks?
I have.
Okay, good.
Yes, sir.
So we got their next buffet of pansies here. So let's see, this thing's got a little weight to it, but it ain't terrible. Moment of truth, huh? It floats.
It floats.
So what we're going to do is space these out so they're not fully submerged. The aquatic plants are going to love all that, but these pansies probably don't want to be that deep underwater.
Oh, you got it?
So we're going to space these out. I think the aquatic plants will be perfectly happy in that deeper water, but I don't think the pansies are going to like being that far underwater. So I've got those on the perimeter in about 2 inches of water. So the roots will have plenty of water, but the whole plant won't be submerged. Push it off. Push, push, push. Good job. There you go. Liner in them and you would be cold. Yeah, the pond is deeper. First thing we're going to do is tie it off. And then we'll walk it out and drop it. This is where it gets cold. We'll walk it out and drop it. All right, so we're tying off our second anchor here, and these blocks are to hold the island in place in the center, because we don't want the island floating to the edge where predators can get to these ducks. We also don't want the raft to float out of here during a rainstorm. Not square, but okay? Oh, it is deeper. Looks like food. Mission accomplished. We got the floating island in. It's looking good. It looked big in the garage, but once you get it out in the pond, you can tell how small it really is, but that is okay. It's plenty big enough for our ducks, which we just released. Have fun.
They're free. For that thing.
Yeah!
They should find those pansies and start tearing them apart in no time. I'm just hoping they find their floating island before the predators find them. They are not street smart. I'm hoping the bobcats and coyotes don't snatch them. But we got an island for them. They still put their food in the cage. So I think it'll be a nice little addition to the pond. Really appreciate you guys following along on this one. We will do an update video in the spring when we plant the aquatic plants. Reminder, those are just pansies. They'll die off, probably get tore up and tore out of there before the spring even comes by the ducks. But we are going to plant this in the spring with aquatics. When we do that, I'll provide an update video for anybody following along. But as always, thank you. We'll catch you on the next one.